Hey you guys, it's Peter, and I'm back. Of course I'm back, I'm not going anywhere. Boost! Peekaboo, I see you because I'm YouTube famous now. Available in the the winter of 2023, the album, Shimmy Shimmy, Dad, AF. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more. What you say? Boost! I thought that song was appropriate today as I do my review of the second installment of the Shane Dawson series. The canceled world of Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson. The retired world of Jeffree Star. The boring world of Shane Dawson. The ongoing life of Jeffree Star. The yakety, whatever he decides to call it from one minute to the next, since he is constantly changing titles, which we're going to talk about in this video today. It's actually the first thing I'm going to talk about in here is the ever-changing titles of Shane Dawson's videos. But before I do, I need to put a little lip gloss on. When your lips are dry as mine, then it's Luna Beauty time. Y'all listen, I went and got my hair cut today, and I promised you a glow up. So I thought that I could actually put on a nice shirt today, cuff it up, and try to look a little bit presentable today for my video. And here, I will show you. If you've never been to my Instagram before, I don't know what's wrong with you. My Instagram stories are so exciting, and I show the daily life of Peter Monn. But every one of my pictures is like this. So this is what somebody taught me on how to take the perfect selfie, okay? You turtle, which means you like stick your head out like a turtle so that you get a good jawline, right? And then like Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen, you prune, okay? Because that's what they always say before every picture. They go prune. And then it gives you like this pouty lip. So you turtle and then you prune. So it's like this. And I always smirk. And so people are always like, every picture you smirk. Well, of course, because that's my signature selfie. And there will be one up there today with my new haircut. Because why not? Anyway, how are you guys doing today? Welcome to, like I said, the review of the new installment of the Shane Dawson video. He put it out yesterday. Very shortly after he put it out, he changed the title of the video. I don't know why. People are speculating that it's because it wasn't getting the views that he wanted it to get. I think it's a little bit different. So let's go in and let's talk about the change of the title first of all, okay? So the video is currently sitting at 1 million views within the first 24 hours, which is pretty good. I mean, not for a Shane Dawson video, but in today's time, I think it's pretty good, which they actually kind of address at the end of the video, views and things like that on YouTube. And the video is called The New World of Jeffree Star. But when it was first posted, the video was titled The Retirement of Jeffree Star, okay? And very quickly after that, he changed the title of the video. And a lot of people caught this, okay? Now, after watching both part 1 and part 2, and I have notes, so I'm going to go in and tell you what I think about all of this. But after watching part 1 and part 2, I have a few things to say. Number one, for everybody out there that calls Shane Dawson still to this day a genius, and he is the documentarian of the world and all this kind of stuff, it's very evident to me in watching this series, whatever you want to call it, this vlog, this series of videos, there's no cohesion to it, and it's very obvious to me that Shane wanted to put something out. And like I said in my previous video, when he kind of hinted at his next series, I think this is kind of his way of getting his feet wet with putting a new series out. And I think it was kind of safe for him to do. I don't think that he had really any idea of what he was going to do with this series. I think he just knew he was going to go visit Jeffree. So the first episode, which was all around the speculation of whether or not they're going to put this palette out, which at this point, I really don't believe that they're going to. Jeffree may say at the end, hell, why not? Let's just put it out. It was fun the first time. Let's do it again for the people. Let's put it out. That's not where I really see this going at this point, but I could be wrong. And I probably am. But anyway, I really feel, because you have to remember that so much of this is up to the editing. You know, I'm a YouTuber that I just sit down and I hit record and I just cut off the beginning and the end. So y'all don't sit here and see me like getting my glasses and my fan all ready. Like, I edit that part out, right? I just cut that part out and then it's me sitting pretty, right? But like with Shane Dawson, like he gets to edit, manipulate, and everything how he wants things to seem in a video. So he really manipulated the first episode for people to think that he was going to go out to Wyoming and he and Jeffree were going to sit down and talk about this palette and how exciting it was, and then they were going to release this palette, okay? You have to remember, Shane knew the whole time that he knew what was going to be in episode 2. He had all of that planned out already. He already knew it was going to be in episode 2. I think his fear was that if he didn't have some huge cliffhanger, and I said there wasn't really a cliffhanger in the first one. I think the cliffhanger now was, will there be a second palette that comes out? And that was really his way to get people interested in the series. I really believe that. I think his fear was, if I don't get people really interested in the world of Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star again, only the diehard fans are going to watch. And I'm worried that that might not be enough to carry it through. So I've got to get people really talking about it and really interested in it, because there is so much speculation about all of this, right? Okay, so he throws up part 2, which is when they land in Wyoming and they go out to the ranch, and like 20 minutes of it is them driving in Jeffree Star's Hummer and things like that. And at the very end, and I'll get to this in a second, but I just want to talk about it now a little bit because of the title. At the very end, Jeffree Star comes out and says that he's leaving YouTube. Okay, he says he has 2 more videos and then he's done. Which is interesting because since the time that he says this, he's put out 3 videos already. So, I mean, Jeffree Star is not somebody I have ever witnessed to be known as a liar. But he has already put out 3 videos and not even announced that he was going to leave YouTube except for in this series. So, I don't know what's going on with that. But I think that Shane, he knew that the only real feeling of substance in this video, unless you are somebody that just loves to see them together so much, is really the very end of the video where Jeffree Star announces this. So he calls it the retirement of Jeffree Star, and he knows that a lot of people are going to catch the title change right away, and then he changes it and calls it, what is it now called? The new life of Jeffree Star, or something like that? The new world of Jeffree Star, right? Okay, so that's what happens with the title change. And like I said, a lot of people caught it. A lot of people, if you go over to Shane Dawson's Twitter, are commenting underneath there, and they're saying, like, they're posting picture screenshots of the title change. They already caught it, like where it said this. And really, in all honesty, in the second part of the series, that was really the only thing of substance that happened. There really wasn't anything that was that interesting. They flew out to Wyoming, and they land in Wyoming. Ryland does like a costume change into like a cowboy outfit, kind of. And then Jeffree and Maddie come to pick them up, and then they ride out to the ranch in his new Hummer. That was kind of cool. You got to see all this kind of stuff with the Hummer and how fast it can go and all this kind of stuff. That was kind of cool. This is the thing. The first versus the second episode, to me, as somebody that doesn't really care for either one of these people, like, I thought the second episode was, for me, more interesting. And it was just because you kind of got to see the rapport back and forth between Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star. It's a much more laid back Jeffree Star. Like, it's not the, what we're not going to do in 2020. I mean, you know, he says in there that he doesn't really care about the drama anymore, and that his mantra for 2022 has kind of been, so, like, oh, so something else happens, so, like, he doesn't really care. He's not invested in the drama. He's not invested in people calling him out, whatever, right? And you can really kind of tell that he actually does feel that way. The thing is, that's interesting, and if you catch it in here, Shane Dawson says something about, like, he notices that Jeffree's not on his phone. It's right around that point, and then it's a little bit before that, that he says that. And then, like, in the first episode, Shane Dawson says something about how he doesn't follow the drama anymore online. But then Shane contradicts himself in this episode and says something about it. And then he goes, oh, yeah, right. Like, I don't have the news stations. I don't have any of that stuff downloaded anymore. Shane Dawson, I can't remember what it is that he says. I meant to write it in my notes, and I forgot. But it's something where he's, like, very very much knows, like, I almost want to say it's like the subscriber count of somebody. Like, he is still very much watching, like, what is happening with the YouTube space. Like, he knows. He's very much watching that, right? So if he's watching that, then he's very much aware of the drama space as well. So anyway, then they get to his house, and they drive up, and they show the ranch, and they go into the house, and they're kind of standing around there talking, and then they go into the basement where the arcade is, and then that's where they're kind of just like talking, and then Shane says, so, you know, Shane does it in his very nervous way whatsoever, like, so when do you want to talk about whatever we're going to talk about? And Jeffree says, you mean me leaving YouTube? And Ryland says, oh, you're going to go there right away. And what's interesting about it, watching it, is they're supposedly like really good friends, right? Like, Shane has made it very clear, and well, Jeffree has made it very clear through the years that he and Shane are still like best friends. Like, Jeffree has said, like, in numerous videos, like, Shane's my best friend, and like still a best friend and things like that. I see him as a brother. You don't get that level of comfort in watching them. Like, from the point of like picking them up at the airport to the house and them talking, it's like there's a level of Shane being uncomfortable, like talking to him, asking him questions and things like that. Like, Ryland bursts out and just kind of asks him more questions and says things. Like, Ryland says a couple things to him, you know, and kind of like some sarcastic, kind of funny things. And Shane is, as you can tell, he's like kind of like so nervous to even like approach anything. And so that's when they talk about Jeffree Star leaving YouTube. And Jeffree is basically like, listen, I've done everything. You know, there's nothing else for me to do. You know, I dipped a beauty blender in the, you know, in a river in Montana, and did my makeup in Yellowstone Park, and all this kind of stuff. And there's kind of an arrogance that goes along with it, where Jeffree's like, I've seen it all, I've done it all, there's nothing for me left to do on YouTube, right? Okay, which to some degree is kind of true, right? Like, from Jeffree Star's point of view, but there's so many more things that he could do. Then he goes into this whole kind of thing, and you can see that Shane is really hurt, kind of, by this statement. And this is where Shane, I think Shane says something like, oh, this is at the beginning, when they're like on the phone, and Jeffree says something, he says something about like, I can't remember how he says it, but he says something like, Jeffree just said something to me that I'm not sure that I agree with, or something. At some point he says something about, Jeffree wants to talk to me about something that I don't agree with, or I don't necessarily agree with. And so then, you know, when you see this part that Shane doesn't necessarily agree, Jeffree says that YouTube is dead, YouTube sucks, he says YouTube sucks, and that nobody's watching YouTube videos anymore, nobody's watching longer content, everybody's watching the shorter videos, which is why he went to TikTok. Now we know why. You know, he made this whole deal about how he was just going to do his makeup reviews over on TikTok. Well, now we know why, right? You know, and it's interesting. I was thinking about this last night. As Jeffree Star is somebody that's always kind of been like 3 steps ahead of the social media trends. Like, he was on MySpace. He kind of killed it on MySpace, which is like why he got so popular. And then on YouTube, he was one of the first beauty people on YouTube. And not the first, but he was one of the first. And that like made it big. And now he's over on TikTok, and he is killing it on TikTok as far as like doing beauty things. But I don't think if he wasn't Jeffree Star, I don't know that I think that his TikToks would be doing as well as they're doing. I mean, he's getting like 20, you know, million views. I showed a couple that had gotten like 20 plus million views. I don't think his TikToks would get those kind of views if he wasn't Jeffree Star, right? And that's the thing. He just seems completely burnt out and bored of social media, all of it to me. And he says in there like he's getting more interested in makeup, but he wants to do it on TikTok. No, you're getting more interested in makeup on TikTok because you know that's where people are going to watch it, right? And so, anyway, what was interesting to me, I went in and I read some of the comments, and because he says to me, he says to me, he didn't say anything to me. He said in there, that not one single person watches YouTube for fun or enjoyment anymore. YouTube sucks. And there were so many comments in there that people were like, Jeffree, like, I'm really hurt by this statement. Like, I love you. I watch your videos. I continue to try to, you know, see when you post. And, like, this really hurts. Like, I'm not even on TikTok. I don't watch TikTok. I watch you on YouTube because I love you on YouTube. And the fact that you would say that not one person watches you, it's like he just dissed this entire audience on YouTube that he doesn't even really care about anymore. And this is where I say often, that so many YouTubers get to a point where they are so big that they kind of lose sight of the subscriber number, you know, that it's like at such a large number that like they don't really see that there are actually people behind those. You know, it's like my Peterisms channel. I don't ever get above like 1,000 views on my Peterisms videos, and I don't care. I love that channel so much. And the comments on that channel are so nice, and it's like so many people are like, oh my god, this is exactly what I needed to hear this day, and thank you, don't ever stop this channel, and whatever, right? And I don't ever for 1 second forget that every comment that is written, there is a person, whether they agree or disagree with me on any of my channels, there's a person on the other side that is typing that out, that is writing that out, right? Like, it's a real person that is hitting subscribe or hitting unsubscribe to your channel. When you make a blanket statement and you say, nobody is watching YouTube anymore, nobody comes to YouTube for enjoyment or whatever anymore, like, that is a sad state of, like, your reality that you are in. Because I don't feel that way. Personally, I love YouTube. I love long-form content. Don't get me wrong. I love to roll through the TikToks. I do. I've started posting some things on TikTok. But I love long-form content. I love watching videos. I love still watching the Q&As. I love watching the What's in My Bags videos. You know, I love following people in their lives on YouTube and seeing what they're doing. I love all of that, you know. There's so many people that I like to watch on YouTube that I don't ever even talk about on here. You know what I mean? I will always watch long-form content. And I have to tell you, in this whole discussion, you know, we're seeing now that YouTube is going to the shorts, and Instagram is doing the reels, right? And Facebook Live, and everybody's trying to reinvent like TikTok because TikTok is so big right now. Well, TikTok is super saturated. It is super, super saturated, right? And the thing that I notice when I go to TikTok is, like, I'll find somebody that puts like a really funny TikTok, and then like I'll go to their page, and they have a really difficult time kind of like reinventing that humor or that talent because they have it for one or maybe two TikToks, but they don't have it to carry like the success of like an entire career on TikTok. Just like any other social media platform, it takes a lot of talent to do that, right? And it takes also a lot of passion and a lot of work to do that. And I feel like that every single day there are more and more people that are going on TikTok. TikTok's also a place that you don't make a lot of money. I don't know if y'all know that, but like that's kind of a known thing. People don't make a lot of money on TikTok, right? So I have a feeling that in the very near future, TikTok's going to kind of burn itself out. I mean, we're already seeing people, what happens is, like, when they are successful on TikTok, they try to transfer that career over to YouTube and start a career on YouTube. And many of them aren't successful at that because they're doing 30 to 60 seconds of a TikTok and trying to translate that to, you know, what is it, 10 minutes, 15 minutes of a YouTube video, and many of them aren't successful at that. I still like watching TikToks. I think it's fun, right? But for me, it will always be long-form content. And I think somewhere in the near future, I think that long-form content will come back and be really popular. I do. And I think that's why YouTube won't get rid of the long-form content. I think they're just trying to trend with the times, with the shorts and things like that. I think Jeffree Star is getting a little scared. You know, I think it's interesting when you talk about him being a marketer, and you know, you can see where your sales are coming from and things like that. And it was like, at one point, if you remember, he wasn't even doing launch videos on YouTube. He was just posting them on his Instagram, right? And at that time, I speculated. I was like, why is he not doing launch videos anymore? You know, and there were a few launches that he did that he just posted on Instagram. And I think at that point, it was like, I'm doing all of this, but I'm not making the same amount of money. Well, I think he thinks he can do that with TikTok. When I think Jeffree Star realizes with a couple launches that he's not making the same kind of money off of TikTok, because I don't think you get the same results, right? Like, do I think that somebody would watch it, you know, a TikTok of Jeffree Star doing his launch and roll to the next thing? Absolutely, and that counts as a view. But does that translate to somebody purchasing your items like it does when you're trending at number 3 with 500,000 views and probably 30% of those people are actually going to go and buy your products? I don't think it translates the same way. I just don't. So I don't know. I think Jeffree Star is just kind of, I think he's done with a lot of social media. I will say Jeffree Star seemed to me in this very content to live on this ranch. Very content. Just, he seemed, there was kind of, honestly, like a sadness about him. Like, so many people were like, you seem so happy and blah, 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 whatever. And I was like, does he though? Like, there seemed kind of to be a sadness to me about him. Like, something that was like, kind of like lacking from his life. You know, we're only seeing, you know, 20 minutes of video footage of him, but, or, you know, it was 53 minutes, I think, but altogether. But there seemed kind of like a sadness to him about it, especially at the end. And he said, you know, and they were like, we should be happy, we should be joyful about this transition kind of in my life and things like that. But he doesn't really seem happy about it. He doesn't really seem excited about it, you know? So I don't know. I don't know. I will say, I want to go in here and look at some of my notes. Hold on a second. I just put Jeffree did seem, and I didn't put anything else. Yeah, the first comment that I noticed was that they don't talk to each other like best friends talk to each other. Like, I don't know, like I've gone to visit friends of mine that live in other places. Hell, my book club partner Mel, I had never met her in person. And the first time I saw her, I was like, girl, what are you doing? You know? And Jeffree's like that with Shane, but Shane's not like that with Jeffree. And it was very interesting to me. I don't know, like he was kind of holding back a little bit. And so that was, and he seemed very nervous. And also, I will say, at the part where where Shane brings out the palette, now I think in the next episode, they're going to actually sit down and look at the palette and things like that. That was supposed to be the palette number 2. But at the point where Shane kind of like brings up the palette, Jeffree's kind of like, oh yeah, like that was cute, that was fun, you know, like, oh, we did it, like we sold so many. But like in that moment, like I don't know if Shane said to him, like, didn't say to him before, like, I'm going to try to sell people on the idea that we're going to come out with palette number 2. Because I really thought that we were going to go into this episode 2, and it was going to be like both of them really trying to promote this idea that they were going to come out with this new palette. Jeffree didn't seem like he was, like, all about it to me. I don't know. Like, it just kind of seemed to me like he was kind of past all that. It's like, we did it. It was fun. Then let's kind of move on with all of that. That was just my 2 cents about it. Hold on a second. Okay. I've actually talked about quite a few of these things. So then it gets to the point where it's like, will they release the palette? And then this is where I was talking about where Shane seemed excited to talk about it, but Jeffree didn't really seem like he could care less about it, you know? And he was just kind of like, oh, that old thing, you know? Like, oh, that's cute, you know? And then I think they're gonna, like, you know, talk about it. It's like he said that night that he has to dress up. I actually went in and I wanted to look and see when this was all filmed, because I knew that I had the Instagram story of Jeffree Star talking about, when Shane and them were out there. And so I went in and I looked at the Instagram story last night, and it was like August 16th. Hold on a second, I have it right here. Here you go. So this is my screenshot of it. And it was on August 18th was when Jeffree Star posted the Instagram story saying that he had Shane and Chris and all these people out there and that they had been filming and they had been on the ranch and stuff like that. So what's interesting about that is at the end of the second episode, which would have been August 18th, Jeffree says that he's only got 2 more videos and he's done. But when you go over and you look at Jeffree Star's channel, Jeffree Star currently, since then, has 3 videos up. He has his Star Wedding palette and collection reveal, Lady Gaga's new foundation, and Psychedelic Circus palette and collection reveal. So, I don't know if he's decided that he's not done. I don't know if we're going to hear that in the next episode, that he's going to say he's not retiring. I don't know if it's just clickbait title, and then he changed it, and that's why he changed it. I don't know. I'm so confused. There isn't really any kind of cohesiveness to this series. I don't think it's horrible, but it's really like, there are so many people that are friends with YouTubers that go visit their friends and they vlog it and they don't call it a series. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, I'm going to visit my friend. And then they do like a video sitting down together and it's not called a series. Like, this is literally just like a weekend away with Ryland going to Jeffree's ranch. It's not a series, like, at all. There's no cohesiveness. From one episode to the next, everything changes about it. the only thing that's really different from episode 1 to 2 is that in the first one, Shane works it all up like, ooh, oh my God, when you guys find out, I wasn't even ready. And oh my God, and then she said this, and he said this, and then they said this, and then this happened, and I can't believe it, and the stars are aligning, and it's all gonna be this, and then it's meant to happen, and then everybody was like, palette, 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 palette. And we watched 53 minutes of a video for part 2, and you don't even mention the palette at all. So that's either a major tease, and you guys are going to mention it in part 3, and you're going to release the palette, or you're just going to talk about it and reference it, and it's just really, this whole video is to announce Jeffree Star's retirement. Okay, could Jeffree Star not have done that in his own video? And I think that his fans probably would have respected it a little bit more. I don't know. It just, you know, I would have respected it more for Jeffree Star. Like, this is honestly, in covering Jeffree Star for 6.5 years on YouTube, this is the most that, and having talked to him on the phone before as well, this is the most real, I think, I've ever seen Jeffree, ever, period. I mean, like, he didn't seem affected, like, with his voice or anything. Like, I just was like, hey, this just seems like any, like, normal person that you would talk to. And it was really kind of refreshing, honestly, to see this side of him. I think, like, had he been like this, like, a year or two ago, instead of all of these very contrived apology videos that came out, and the gold couch video and all this kind of stuff, I think things would happen differently. You know, I think the other thing is, you know, Rylan made a comment when they were talking about, like, YouTube is hurting for everybody right now. Girl, YouTube ain't hurting for some people. Some people are doing very, very well on YouTube. Some people are thriving on YouTube, you know? And the thing is, I mean, Rylan just said in the last episode that his views were hurting and insinuated it was because of Shane, right? So are your views hurting because your fiance got canceled and never addressed any of his things about that? And is now continuing to do things that people are finding questionable, like working with Jeffree Smith? You know, like, I mean, that could be a reason why your views aren't doing as great, you know? Also, people aren't super interested in the SIP, is what I have heard, you know? I don't watch the SIP anymore, so I don't know. But I got a lot of comments like that on my video. You know, Shane's views, they're okay. Are they okay for a comeback, you know, series with Jeffree Star? No, not at all. I mean, when you're talking about a series that was sitting at 20 to 50 million views 2 years ago, no, they're not, you know? So are views hurting? Is it YouTube? Or is it because you guys did some very questionable things that have really, really hurt your career and have really, really hurt your platform on YouTube, that people have unsubscribed to you, people aren't interested in you, and people aren't watching you anymore? And I've said this for 2 years. If you had taken accountability in a very honest way and shown people who you were and explain, I mean, at one point Jeffree says something about therapy, and explained who you were and shown the changes that you were making and shown that people that you had changed and taken them along the ride with you, people would have been there for you, and maybe your views wouldn't be hurting so bad, you know? I think the one thing also for me is, like, you know, yeah, Jeffree Star's not getting 20 million views on a launch video anymore, but I don't know that he ever really did. He got 20 million views on videos like going to Walmart, and he makes that as an example. But, like, I mean, he did okay on his launch videos, but there was, like, a year period. If you guys go back and look, like, Jeffree Star before Shane Dawson, like, he did well on YouTube, but he didn't do extraordinarily. I mean, he was doing, like, the same as, like, the uprise of James Charles, let's say, right? And then, like, Shane Dawson swooped in, and it was, like, this phenomenon that we had never seen before, right? Of, like, the views and the things like that, of somebody like them. And so the fact that, like, now Jeffree Star is getting, like, 1 million views on a video over, like, let's say a week, right? Like, you know, that still equals a lot of AdSense money, like a lot of AdSense money. And I know he sold almost every purse and every bit of clothes he's ever had, because he says that in here. And he probably made tons of money, and he's downsized his house and everything like that. But I'm like, that's also the arrogance, ego, and pride to me. It's like, do you know how many people are out there that are buying makeup with their own makeup or with their own money, that are doing dupes, that are doing reviews, that are doing get-readies with me, that are just trying so hard, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you want to say it, okay? That are trying so hard just to build a following because they love makeup so much and they want to do makeup, and here you kind of just come and piss all over 1 million views on a video and act like that's nothing. For those 1 million people that have continued to stick stick with you all this time. You know, it's sad to me. It really is very sad. And honestly, it kind of made me happy that Shane looked hurt in that moment. Like, I know Shane was hurt because he, like, has this admiration for Jeffree Star, and he can't imagine a YouTube space without Jeffree Star. But I didn't even realize I was close to the 30-minute mark, and my camera just shut off right in the middle of my thought. Anyway, yeah, Shane seems, you know, very upset that Jeffree Star will be leaving the YouTube space, and because, you know, he admires and respects him and whatever. I'll never get it. But okay, whatever, right? But I also hope that it's because Shane's looking at this idea that, you know, the YouTube space, people are having this discussion about it changing, you know? Jeffree Star is not the first person to talk about the fact that YouTube is dying, okay? And that it's going to be non-existent in 5 years. I personally do not believe that, and I have said this for quite some time. You know, I think two things. I think we are getting back to more relatable YouTubers. I think people are wanting more, like, you know, I was going to say front porch, but like I sit on my front porch every night, you know, and I talk in my vlog, and I'm just kind of like using that as an analogy. But I think people want to see more relatable YouTubers, you know. I think we're getting back a little bit to the old days of YouTube. I don't think people want to see the glam and the glitz of YouTube, and I don't think in the economy that we live in that people want to see YouTubers that are making $20 million a year and throwing it in their face. I think people are wanting to see YouTubers that are, you know, sitting in their houses and they're doing makeup just because they love makeup, or they're cooking food just because they love to cook food, and they're sharing that with people, and they're sharing stories with them. And I think that relatability thing, that relatability factor, right, is one thing that we're going to start seeing more and more of. And so those YouTubers, I think, are going to build up more and more and more. And I do think that long-form content is going to come back. I think it will. I think people are going to miss it, and I think people are going to, like, the trend of TikTok is going to, listen, if you're as old as me and you have watched trends, the pendulum goes back and forth, right? And YouTube's going to be around. YouTube will switch up, it'll change, and it will become something different. But I do really truly believe, and it's not just because my videos are so horribly long, which they are, but I do believe that long-form content will stick around, and that there will be people out there that will always love it. And for those of you out there that like to watch my videos that are long, thank you. I appreciate it, and I will continue to make them. Let me know what you think about all of that in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.